Welcome, Motenta people. Before now, I always pondered it when I hear people say the good old days. Not until I grew up and had my nostalgia. Back in the day, the human community had trust in people, decency, respect, true love, and parental obedience by boys and girls in issues about romantic relationships and marriages. Priscilla Presley's relationship and marriage with Elvis Presley reminds me of the type of humility and devotion in early women that is hard to find among the present generation. Why Priscilla Presley and Elvis's relationship would be illegal today? Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you're new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Motentas channel. Very few marriages remind us of how courtships were done in the heydays, especially the chastity and respect we all adore about ancient society, the way Priscilla and Elvis Presley's relationship do. I recall when boys would seek parental approval before starting a relationship with a girl. The same with the girls, who remain in the background until the parents approve. What did early society know about life that we are missing today? If not that our generation thought they were wiser than their parents, and so tended to do things their way. Fortunately, the likes of Priscilla and Elvis Presley and the history behind their beginning will continue to remind us how wild we have deviated as a society over the years. What we know today as a legal romantic relationship would have been absurd for the early generation, just as some of us have been brainwashed by the media and related institutions to consider as primordial the once cherished chastity in courtship. Priscilla and Elvis Presley's relationship would have been illegal today because she was still very young when the duo began, but for the parental moral imbued in both personalities, they were able to stay together for years without disobeying the natural order. They remained in a platonic relationship until the time was right for both of them. I hear that out of love and the fear that Elvis might dump her, young Priscilla had offered to please Elvis because he was having relationships with other girls at the time. But Elvis refused and told her that she was still too young for that. I'm very passionate each time I talk about Priscilla Presley because she reminds me a lot about fairy tales of a virtuous woman. She is beautiful, humble, patient, and very understanding, and that is how I feel about her nature. Her kind is very rare to come by in our generation. For this reason, most of us will continue to see her as a precious lady and a model worthy of emulation. Priscilla was born Anne Wagner in Brooklyn sometime in 1945. Her last name became Beaulieu after she was adopted by a man who later married her mother after her biological father's death in an air crash while serving as a U.S. Navy pilot. That ill-fated incident occurred when she was just 6 months old. Growing up under her mother and her adopted father, little Priscilla learned and embodied the ethics that made her stand out as a unique lady. Even as a teenager, she already had a lot of motherhood vibes that reminded Elvis of his late mother when he first saw her. Childhood was fun for young Priscilla, though living in a regimented setting may have contributed to her usual predisposition to shyness. The fun of moving from one place to another was somewhat dampened by her demanding stepfather. However, it was when the usual transfer brought her family to Germany that she saw Elvis, because he was also in Germany at the time doing a stint in the U.S. Army. Elvis had seen fresh and amiable Priscilla at a social gathering. It seemed that Priscilla instantly captured Elvis's attention. The reason for the instant affection, Elvis confided in his pal, Rex Mansfield, is that Priscilla is beautiful and young enough that he can train her any way he wants. He had asked to meet her, and the arrangement was made by a trusted family friend. After a private discussion with her, their mutual affection was obvious. When that meeting ended, Elvis ensured that he booked a second date to see her. The bonding between teenage Priscilla and Elvis made her return home very late that evening, infuriating her parents, who were adamant that she would never see Elvis again. They didn't understand what Elvis was doing with Priscilla, at 14 years old and just completing junior high school. But the parties involved convinced Priscilla's parents that Elvis meant no harm. It was during the second date that he first planted a kiss on her lips. I'll allow you to guess what happened after that. All I can say is that their feelings were mutual, so there would be another meeting. It was during the fourth visit with Elvis that Priscilla's father wanted to know what he was doing with his daughter. "Well, sir, I happen to be very fond of her. She's a lot more mature than her age. I enjoy her company," Elvis told her father when the two met. Elvis is also a likable personality. Plus, with his popularity and his family background, it was only natural that he get a pass on this. That was only the beginning, because Elvis was able to convince her parents that he meant no harm and would ensure her safety. They continued seeing each other and triggering more romantic feelings between them, as Priscilla became very interested in seeing Elvis regularly. Elvis was conscious of his future queen, and though Priscilla regularly visited him in his room, he never took advantage of her, so their connection remained non-sexual. Interestingly, when teenage Priscilla learned that Elvis was about to leave Germany on completion of his mission, she was somewhat heartbroken, like every teen would be, afraid that she might not see him again. She wanted to lose her virginity to please him, but Elvis exhibited respect for her parents and male maturity by telling her, "Someday we will, Priscilla, but not now. You're just too young." If he had done so, it would have been an illegal affair, actionable in a court of law. Following Elvis's departure from Germany in 1960, the two continued to communicate, this time through letters, especially in pink envelopes, so Elvis would differentiate it from thousands of fancy mails he received. Priscilla may have had some kind of teenage despair when trendy gossip reports suggested that Elvis was in an amorous relationship with many women in Hollywood. She felt that her romance with Elvis may have ended, though she kept communicating because she still loved him. 2 years after, Elvis made a request to her parents to allow her to visit him in Los Angeles. The 2 weeks visit was granted under very stringent conditions. He was made to fly her on a first-class journey to Los Angeles, plus daily messages would be sent to her parents during the period. But very remarkable is that Elvis and Priscilla kept their affection chaste and lived like a brother and sister without any intercourse. The visit and return went as planned, further convincing Priscilla's parents that she was safe with Elvis, and their bonding continued. It was at this time that Elvis suggested she complete high school in Tennessee, with a promise of marrying her thereafter. She was too precious for Elvis, and he was ready to do the right things. Elvis reached an agreement with Priscilla's parents that she would attend a girls-only Catholic school in Memphis and would live with Elvis's father and stepmother in a different house that was a short distance away from Elvis's Graceland home. Not too long, Priscilla found herself studying at Immaculate Conception High School in Memphis, which was the beginning of the wider love life between the king and his undying queen. The status would remain until she completed high school. At this time, there was a gentlemanly agreement between Elvis and Priscilla's parents that they would eventually get married. But as love continued to push the two, she often spent nights with Elvis's grandmother, Minnie Mae Presley at Graceland, and slowly moved her belongings over. The two lived as an unconventional couple for years, with Priscilla absorbing all the gossip from the media about Elvis's boisterous lifestyle. His famous womanizing with his leading ladies in Hollywood rented the air, especially one with actress Nancy Sinatra that Elvis said was brief. Priscilla felt very hurt and wanted to leave, but that would not be because Elvis convinced her to stay. She also got fan mail from Elvis's followers, but the grateful and the jealous enthusiasts spoke negatively about her. But she endured everything with patience. During this time, Priscilla tried her best to keep up with Elvis's kind of lifestyle. She took amphetamines and sleeping pills for the first time because of the fast-paced way of living she found herself in. It was also because Elvis was engaged to her. Being betrothed to him, Priscilla was doing everything to please him, so as not to disappoint her parents, who had already given their approval to their marriage. So she soaked up all the pressures from Elvis's increasing popularity. At some point, Priscilla was willing to join him in Hollywood, but Elvis, who was afraid of exposing her in the industry, would not agree, even while his name traveled around gossip media for the wrong reason, as a philanderer. At some point, Elvis's career was on a downturn. Even his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, was afraid of the impact the relationship with Priscilla caused on his career. But Elvis had his own plan. After presenting an official proposal ring to Priscilla during the 1966 Christmas celebration, 5 months after, sometime in May 1967, he took her to the Las Vegas registry, where they cemented their marriage. The duo had their first romantic night on their wedding night after courting for years. They entered another stage in life, a period that saw Priscilla living uniquely with him because she was prepared for whatever he was throwing at her. She came as nothing but as his wife. She once spoke of how she was always ready to greet him at the door and pamper him. She showed love and care for Elvis and cherished feeding him when necessary. Their union was fun, and they made jargon for messages so outsiders wouldn't understand what they were talking about in public. And then Priscilla became pregnant. 7 months into her pregnancy, Elvis shocked her when he asked her for temporal separation for an unspecified period. Elvis said he wanted time to think. Things were just not right with his life and career, so he felt that it'll be good for them to take a little time off from each other. His words were more agonizing when she understood that it was not even her fault. It was more about Elvis and his career and personal lifestyle. Recall that Elvis Presley's career fame dropped, with 2 out of 8 of his singles between 1967 and May 1968 falling below the top 40, and none rose beyond number 28. But several things were bothering innocent Priscilla. When Elvis played in Viva Las Vegas, he had an affair with co-star Anne Margaret. She read about it in the news, but Elvis told her that it was just a publicity movie stunt and that she shouldn't accept everything she read in the media. And all the affairs he had had with several women were denied when Priscilla asked. Shortly, Elvis's career made a good comeback in his 1968 television show, where he toured cities gallivanting with women on and off while Priscilla was left at home with her infant daughter. Elvis's regular absences from home created a hole in her heart and soured their relationship. When Priscilla started karate training, it was to ease up the tension because she often wished she had a hobby that would keep her mind off Elvis or the lonely time at home. More so, she was willing to do things that would make Elvis happy by sharing his interest. But as soon as Priscilla commenced the karate lessons with Mike Stone, a man she first saw off stage in one of Elvis's shows, things took an ugly turn. She started an affair with him. She had to decide for herself, though she still loved Elvis. Elvis may have sensed the changes and decided to get rough on her. Priscilla said he made love to her violently, the way he had never done before, and later told her that it's the way real men make love to their women. Though Priscilla regretted both her action and every other thing that followed, the outcome was inevitable. All attempts by Elvis to reconcile with Priscilla failed because she was hurt physically and emotionally, and she described the move for peace as coming too late. His sexual indifference to his wife's feelings could not have been rewarded the way he did. Priscilla was also angry that he even told her he's not been able to make love to any woman that has given birth. It became an issue of dysfunction that even made her doubt her own sexuality. Perhaps the reason she looked for outside help from another man. She saw Elvis as a changed man, different from the gentle and understanding man that she grew to love. After Elvis and Priscilla divorced, Elvis was so angry with himself, and with the one man he allegedly claimed must die, Mike Stone, who became a serious source of his pain. They said his anger was so strong that a doctor could not calm him after large doses of medication. Priscilla and Elvis, however, agreed to share custody of their daughter and remained in contact with each other. Their relationship outside marriage grew to the extent that they were even planning to get back into marriage. The union ended, but their love didn't, and it was mutually exclusive on both sides. Elvis didn't take for granted the real love he enjoyed with Priscilla, the reason he assisted her in her business that same year after their divorce. For all indications, it was very tough for Priscilla to live, love, and be a wife to Elvis. At the time, that was why they called it quits, but their journey together would remain a model marriage for many, especially the Hollywood community, because of the respect and trust that characterized their affair until Elvis's sudden demise that ended such a romantic masterpiece. Priscilla didn't have an easy life with Elvis, but she was not the only such wife. How was Nancy Sinatra humiliated by Frank Sinatra's flings? Watch this video.